All right, looks like we got some Final Fantasy VII remake, Rebirth, that trilogy Part 3 news. This come from Maximilian Dude, so I'm gonna trust this highly accurate. I don't think he'd be talking about anything that's just pure absolute nonsense. All right, let's check this out. Dude, his intro is so awesome. Like, it's just so fucking awesome.
FF7 news. Hasn't been a lot, and there also has. Because ultimately, the FF7 news came kind of like fast, and it was like, oh wow, they're talking about so much stuff. And that's effectively what it is. It's more Part 3 talk, but more solidifying what those individual elements are. And now the devs are like kind of like being really specific about it. So to top off the news today, Rebirth director Hamaguchi says that for Part 3 of the FF7 trilogy, the plot has been finalized, concept has been decided, and the team is already working on it. I mean, I'd like to tell you that news and everyone should be excited. Like, to be honest,
I feel like they've been working on it for a little bit now.
In all honesty, it just means that some things that were kind of in the air before that had not been completely finalized are definitely final, and they're just sort of like going forward. This game's been in development for a year, dude. At this point,
so I wasn't going to say that one. I figured,
developing and already.
Well, I mean, I'd say maybe they probably started like like beginning this year
because of how large of a concept it is and how much it's going to carry over from the previous game. Yeah, I'm still under the same boat that I don't think it's switching engines. I think it's going to be Unreal Engine 4. I don't think it's changing to UE5. I think we've seen plenty of UE5 games mess shit up over the past couple years. So there's no specific reason to want that change, much less the benefits that it gives without how much time it's going to take to learn that shit. They can't reveal that concept for the third game yet, but they want to give players experience the world from a higher perspective with the Highwind. The Highwind is going to be so integral to Part 3. It's going to...
All right, I'm okay. They're going to they're going to develop this for the PS5 Pro, right? Or are they going to base it for base PS5? I wonder. I feel like it's got to be Pro, because Rebirth, supposedly, I haven't gotten my hands on a Pro yet. I want to, but I also, I don't know. Let's not get too far into But I've heard that Rebirth on the Pro looks absolutely and plays absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to assume that Part 3 is going to be optimized for the Pro on release.
To be nuts. So that's just more of a confirmation. He says the airship will not try to deceive people with its system, and they will take on the challenge to allow you to fly freely around the map. So that is a good point. When you talk about this stuff,
okay, that's good. I was hoping that wouldn't be like 16.
Literally be a point A to point B marker, and it just goes from point A to point B. They specifically are addressing that. The
I didn't like the travel system in 16 when you just went from like you said, marker to marker. I didn't like that. No.
Is that they do not want you to have a on-rails experience. Like, you're going to experience the game from a much higher elevation. You're going to experience the world from that elevation. When they're saying that they're allowing you to fly freely around the map, this is not a dedication to one thing or the other. I think it's more of like a promise that the Highwind is going to be so integral into the gameplay that the air, like the sky of the game, is going to have actual gameplay elements outside of just traversal. Because that's the one thing that FF7 Rebirth was trying to do, to put a lot of shit in its world.
Like Ultimate Weapon flying around? Yeah, you find him in the air,
fun.
Possibly.
Not all of it hit, but there needed to be a bit more exploration. I think that's the thing, dude. Like, we need to be able to take the Highwind to areas that are obviously unexplorable. And I'll be real, one of my favorite things of FF7 Original is looking at the world map once you have the Highwind and coming to the realization that, oh, I have access to this thing now. I think I can land there. Clearly, the game was like teasing you with places you could go as you were traversing that world, and you're like, oh man, I wish I could go there. Then as soon as you have an airship, you're like, oh, I can go to this weird chocobo house. Oh, I can go to these caves now. Oh, I can't go here. Oh, even though I have the airship, I'm still like landlocked by certain things. So to me, that will be imperative. Like, that's 100% imperative if we're doing FF7 Part 3 and we have full Highwind exploration. It's the relationship
Think of-
between
okay, when do we get the
literally
Highwind?
your experience
Because-
of running around the world, and now that you're up here, so what does this do for you?
We should get it fairly early in the game, actually.
I
think about it, yeah.
Aerial, all that kind of stuff. Like, the same shit happens underwater in the OG FF7. The exact same thing happens with the underground of FF7 when you're going up through all the caves under the ocean, and then you go up and you have no idea where you're out on the world map, and then bam, you're here, and it's like, oh shit, where the hell have I taken myself?
See, I think the ocean and everything, like, holy shit, how big is this game gonna be, right? Because, I mean, Rebirth, I thought was huge. And I love Rebirth. It's my game of the year. It's my favorite games of all time. You know, but now you're not just having land in part 3. You've got underwater stuff. And look, we already got some of our stuff. Okay, you know, we got Emerald Weapon. The Key to the Ancients. I doubt that's just going to be a, drive up to it and pick it up thing. The submarine battle. Then, what else we got? Oh, the sunken Gelnica. You know, plus if they put stuff in in the sky, it's more than just flying around. Holy shit, how big is this game going to be?
Once again, FF7 Remake series has shown that they're very much interested in keeping the same feel and vibes that the first game had. And a big part of that to me is exploration and how the ocean, the land, and the sky kind of relate to each other. There's very few games overall that have that big of a, combination between those three things. I'm excited. They haven't talked anything about underwater. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Like, did you miss something? Trust me. They're not going to talk about the ocean, much less talk about under ocean, until likely like 6 months or less before the game comes out. Because ultimately,
so probably
submarine shit happens much later in the game. Like, that will be halfway through FF7 Returns when it comes out, Part 3. Can't wait. I'm just ridiculously excited.
Is Returns the official name, or is that just what he's calling it? I think that's just what he's calling it. If it was the official name, I feel like I would have known that. So yeah, so probably get. Well, I'm thinking like a March 2027 release. That's what I'm thinking. 2027 will be the year of the 30th anniversary of since the original came out in 97. So that's what I'm thinking. It's gonna be 2027 that comes out.
There's more, though. Hamaguchi and Katase showed off alternate drastic design changes for the Mako reactor in FF7 at the G-Star panel. Katase wanted a more drastic design, saying, since it's a remake...
Wait, this it? What the hell is... that? I feel... is that supposed to be, Shinra headquarters? Oh, why? I feel like that's... or is that a Mako? I guess that's a Mako reactor, but... That looks stupid as shit. I guess it's all supposed to be just all glass. I'd like to see it in video, but in that picture, I don't like it. I do not like it in that picture.
Wouldn't it be good to have more drastic silhouette? This is what always happens. The original creators are like more than willing to change shit. This always happens, dude, because like we did this already, so let's really up the ante and modernize things. Hamaguchi had too much respect for the series and was worried about its reception. They had a 2-hour discussion and settled on the more faithful design. Look at this weird looking fucking thing. What the hell?
Yeah.
No, I hate this.
Okay. So actually, the tower part's not too bad, but what the fuck are these things? Huh? What the fuck are these? That is stupid. And this I feel blends in too much to this. Yeah. No.
I really don't. It looks weird. It looks like a funky volcano. They came up with a drastic Mako reactor design that Katase would have imagined.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry. To me, what this looks like is it looks like some kind of fucking alien robot from Doctor Who. I'm kind of thinking the Dalek. Not a full on Dalek, but it to me has a very Dalek-like presentation to it.
So glad they didn't go with that. Kitase and Hamaguchi explained what the concept/theme was for each of the FF7 games so far. And with the OG Final Fantasy VII, it's obviously life, which is pretty conclusive. FF7 Remake, it's reunion. It's like nostalgic, but it's new. FF7 Rebirth was bonds, and yeah, the bond between characters, and clearly the bonds that we're making with the world and the characters in that world. He's right, dude. 100%. The whole point of this game, they literally make a gameplay out of it, a gameplay mechanic out of it, is to create relationships with characters that are rewarding you with gameplay stuff. And like, yeah, that's great. That's a great way to incentivize it. But you don't even really realize that as you're like going through all these places and visiting all these characters and all this kind of stuff, they're trying to get you to fall in love with this world. They really are. They're trying to get you to fall in love with these extremely quirky characters and all these crazy conversations that characters have. Like the NPCs in this game.
Okay. You as the player,
nuts, like rivaling that.
I thought it was talking about the actual characters in the game for a second.
Also a bond between like the player and the world, the player and the locations, the player and the characters in game. And I think they did a pretty effective job because people go through actual depression when the game is over. At least some do. With that being said, yeah, I don't know where they're going to lean in the next part and what the next theme of the next game is going to be. But I will say, just in terms of like game feel and what your feelings are of that game about the experience, Rebirth leaves a much different impression than Remake. I loved Remake, right? Don't get me wrong. I loved Remake. Great game. But at the same point, I did not feel the same way at the end of Rebirth. It just felt like entirely different. It felt like it was entirely a different kind of experience that I was playing.
I agree with that because, and here's my thing, and yeah, okay, I'll just, spoilers if you haven't played Rebirth yet, right? So I felt that the whole thing at the end of Remake was like, you know, a new timeline, a new way for things, you know, to have potentially like unfolded, you know, new choices to be made. And I felt that at the end of Rebirth, it was, okay, you know, here's the moment. We're going to make you think that things can change, that you know, if they're going to change, we're going to take it back away from you. Nothing's going to change. And it's just all going to go exactly like the original.
And enjoying. It felt very controlled, very tight, you know, in part one. And then part two was just like vast and open, and you can sort of like sky's the limit what you can do, all this kind of shit, you know. Completely different feel at the end of that game. Some people kind of liked how refined the first part was, because the first part's set around a lot of really big set pieces, and then the second part has big set pieces, but the plot doesn't really come around because we're waiting for part 3. So I get it, you know. I get it. I get like why people feel that way and why I kind of felt that way, but ultimately appreciate it because I think at the end of this thing, regardless of the next game having a lot of borrowed elements from this game, I think the next part is going to feel also really unique. I think that's them also pulling back a little bit on the overuse on like large scale environment checklisting, sort of, you know, going from this thing to the other. I don't even know if they're gonna have the typical like Ubisoft tower shit. The entire
Okay, I hope they don't have that shit. I hate those fucking tower things. Those are so annoying. Honestly, okay, this is what I kind of want is trying to think how because I'm one of those people who, if I get to an area, right, and you give me like, you know, a list of all of the stuff I can do, you know, main quests, side missions, anything, all the stuff I can do in that area. I kind of like have this thing where I want to complete everything in that area. Before I move on to the next area. And you know, I'm afraid with a game that's like, because I did experience this a little bit with Rebirth, is that, they're into a game for, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. It gets to a point, it's like, okay, I kind of just want to do story stuff. But at the same time, I don't want to skip any mission or quest, or whatever, that could, give me like backstory information on something. So I kind of hope that maybe they do a way that if they have the list that says, you obviously you got your main story missions, right? And then it tells you like, hey, these side quests, these side missions, whatever, like these ones are very integral to the main story, suggest you play this before you move on. The other stuff, can you just come back to it later?
Chadley element of the game, where Chadley is, sort of doing shit.
Right, Chadley's a prime example. Like the Chadley stuff, we don't need to do that until the end.
I think they might have something much more.
But there were I'm trying to think if there was any major. Like, I don't think there were any major side missions. I can't remember any major side missions, side quests that like were like, very deep, like very pertaining to the main story. Like there was, stories inside missions. But I can't think of anyone that was like, oh, okay, if I didn't play this side mission, then I wouldn't know this information when it came to the main story.
Organic in terms of exploration, but maybe just less stuff overall. That's about it. I think that wraps up the post. Yeah. So there's just more stuff that they're talking about, more dedication to airship stuff. I personally feel that we're going to get an update on FF7 Rebirth, like officially. I'm sorry, FF7 Part 3 officially as early as the summer of this year. I'm not even kidding.
Wait, so summer 2025?
Mid 2025. No shit.
Whoa.
We could get at some point next year, did I say this year? Next year, 2025, a small teaser. And that teaser wouldn't be much. It would be pretty much confirmation of the game's existence, the title, maybe something like that, and like a very, very small tease. But a year after that, 2026, the giant gameplay reveal. The same way they did for
okay,
Rebirth,
yeah, that would track.
1 year later, which is just like, hey, here it is. And from that 1 year point,
that would track for that 2027 release. Okay, yeah.
All gas, no brakes till 2027. And that's where I think the game is actually launching. It'd be cool. You gotta think like, oh, but that's so short, all that kind of stuff. My dude, they likely will have already had 2 years of development time by the time mid 2025 hits. They could have potentially had 2 years of development time just on this game alone. That's where my thought process is at. And you know what also? That gives us plenty of time to eventually get Tifa and Tekken.
I don't play Tekken, so I don't care about that. But all right, yeah. So, okay, not anything major news, but that was that's pretty cool. Like I said, I'm hoping for. I really am hoping for 2027. I don't want to have to wait, another year or two, even longer than that. But so. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.